So with the Canadian Grand Prix wrapped up, one of the biggest stories coming out was Mercedes seemingly looking in contention again for podiums and even wins, and this was all thanks to their upgrades that Mercedes brought. Now, it's no secret that Mercedes has been mediocre since 2022, and while they have fought for podiums here and there, you always got the feeling they could have gotten more, and this weekend was certainly no different. However, Mercedes' language has been very bold lately, with James Allison stating they're gonna bully their way back to the front, and I think it's starting to come into effect. So, if they could keep this trajectory going, can we add yet another team that could potentially challenge Red Bull? Or are we thinking too far ahead of ourselves, and Mercedes will fall back into the upper midfield besides a few weekends here and there? Well, let's look at their development plan and see if Mercedes can be in the fight again, or if they'll be just as disappointing as they've been recently. First off, let's look at their Canada upgrades. What surprises me most is how these were minor upgrades, which only makes us ask ourselves, how can something be so minor yet be so effective? Well, it's because most of the upgrades lied with the suspension of the car and the brakes of the car, so let's take a look at them. The main goal of the suspension upgrades was to improve the airflow to the underbody of the car, and this gives a benefit to just about everything, since the underbody of the car can allow for better flow through corners, as well as better top speed, since all the airflow the car picks up will be used more effectively. Moving on to the brake upgrades, its main goal was to help with brake cooling, something crucial at a track like Canada due to all the long straights into slow corners. So even though these upgrades were minor, they targeted all the correct areas for a track like Canada, so it was really no surprise that they did as well as they did. Could they have done better in one? Yes, but considering the chaotic nature of the race, I'll give them a pass for now. While things look to be sunshine and rainbows at Merc right now, there could be potential problems that we will discuss later on. So now that we've discussed the effects of the Canada upgrades, what does this mean going forward? Well, like I stated before, Mercedes plan to bring themselves back to the front, but what does this mean exactly? Well, this probably means that they plan to bring constant upgrades that maximize the car, and by doing this, they hope to outdevelop their competition and finally make their grand return to the podium as winners. Will this work? Probably not, since they took a similar approach in 2023, and the car was about as inconsistent as my college transcript. But who knows? All we do know is that Mercedes, and specifically Toto, are playing a very bold game here, since if these upgrades don't work, then this season can yet again be another write-off for the Silver Arrows. Well, let's look a little farther than 2024 though. How will Mercedes hold up then? First off, I think Antonelli will be a Mercedes driver next year. Original, I know. But with how Toto talks about this guy, saying things like he is the future and is important for the development of Mercedes, I think we'll all be surprised if he doesn't get the seat. Anyways, in my opinion, no matter what happens this year, Mercedes will probably play the 2025 season very chill, since with reports coming out for 2026 say Mercedes have the best engine by far, they're probably going to go all in on that just like in 2014 and hope to dominate once again in Formula 1. So while I don't see anything happening for 2025, 2026 can be very interesting indeed, especially with their customer teams such as McLaren. If they get the car better than Merc, then we could see something very interesting, but I won't delve into it in this video. Maybe I'll make another video about 2026, but let us see. Anyways, let us now discuss the potential problems that may come from Mercedes' development. Firstly, what's perhaps most obvious, is that this fails spectacularly. What I mean is, perhaps since Mercedes are rushing developments for more efficiency, that maybe this is an indirect way of shooting yourself in the foot. Cause what if these upgrades are very minimal or don't work like intended due to the rushed development? Or perhaps that these upgrades simply don't compare to major upgrade packages like McLaren or Red Bull does, and all Mercedes are doing is taking small steps instead of big steps. And speaking of this, secondly, what if other teams still outdevelop them? If this happens, Where does Merc go from here? Do they abandon bullying, or are they too far deep to go back? Of course, these are all hypotheticals and may not be valid, but in the world of F1, hypotheticals can go from ifs to wins, so I would tread carefully if I was Mercedes. Hypotheticals aside though, taking everything into account, what should we expect from Mercedes? Well, looking at their development plan and the results of Canada, I expect Mercedes to be a little farther ahead than they were at their best last year, which was like 15 seconds behind Max, but still, that 15 seconds can now be 10 seconds, so hey, it's an improvement. And also, considering the performance of Ferrari and McLaren compared to Red Bull, if I was Mercedes, I would be happy they're even in these discussions at all. At their best, I see Merc challenging for wins on specific circuits like Canada and Interlagos, but at their worst, I see Merc struggling for anything above P8, which I mean, hey, still points I guess. Overall though, I think we, and especially Mercedes fans, should be optimistic about this year and future years, since it seems like they actually have a plan for the first time since 2022. If this bully development plan goes accordingly, then I could see Merc challenging for wins more often, maybe not the title just yet, but definitely a couple of wins. Of course, this is reliant on upgrades working as intended, such as in Canada, but I have no doubt that they will work. Since it worked once, surely they could do it twice. Or maybe I just jinxed them. Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you think of their development plan. And as always, have a great day.
Good weather for the duck.